Hello everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Wehry Weekly History and Entertainment News. It's the week of Halloween, which normally is an exciting time for families and their children. However, with COVID-19, there are many new rules and regulations in place. On last week's WWHN, I discussed what Pittsfield and North Adams would be doing. Now I'll be mentioning what some of the smaller towns and municipalities are doing, as well as how you can still see movies without going to the theater. First, it's time for this week's trivia question, which will be answered at the end of the movie segment. This week's question is, in honor of Halloween, what is the only horror movie to receive the Academy Award for Best Picture? Now, for this week's local entertainment headlines. Halloween is approaching, and cities, towns, and municipalities throughout Berkshire County are making their decisions about trick-or-treat. For instance, the town of Williamstown will be hosting trick-or-treating, but will be following similar rules in North Adams. At the Williamstown Board of Health meeting on Thursday, October 8th, members endorsed guidelines for Halloween with specific rules for the festivities. Town manager Jason Hotch originally wanted to cancel trick-or-treating altogether under the COVID-19 situation, but once he saw what North Adams was doing, he had a change of heart. At the meeting, he stated, quote, "For the longest time, I thought this was a bad idea. Having people go door to door seemed not where we wanted to be. Many of us landed at the same spot. It's going to happen anyway." Providing guidelines for a more reasonable option. The town will further announce on October 29th whether public health conditions have changed enough to cancel trick-or-treat. Trick-or-treat in Williamstown will be taking place from 6 o'clock to 7:30 p.m. on Saturday, October 31st. Williamstown is discouraging Halloween parties and gatherings of people between non-family members. Masks must be worn, and social distancing regulations are in full force. It is recommended that families keep moving and limit their visits to familiar neighborhoods. Also, there will be no communal bowls or baskets of candy. The grab-and-go method must be used. On the other hand, the town of Dalton is discouraging trick-or-treat altogether. At their October 5th meeting, the town board voted strongly to discourage high-risk traditional activities. According to the CDC, trick-or-treating is one of the worst ways possible. Furthermore, the town will not be listing trick-or-treat hours on its website as it normally would. Not listing the hours is a surefire sign that Dalton is asking its residents to not trick-or-treat. However, the Dalton Board of Health is encouraging lower-risk alternatives, such as the program being provided to the students of the Central Berkshire Regional School District through a collaboration between the Dalton CRA, Dalton Civic Arts Center, Grow Dalton, and other community partners. This is similar to the drive-in Halloween that Pittsfield is hosting, discussed on last week's WWHN. Masks are required, as well as social distancing, for this drive-in trick-or-treat event in Dalton. The date of this event has not yet been determined. Visit dalton-mat.gov for more information. Great Barrington will be following the likes of North Adams and Williamstown hosting trick-or-treat with many restrictions in place. Bunch of the rules and regulations being followed are the same as those listed previously on WWHEN. It will be hosted from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. and only residents of Great Barrington will be allowed in town. No outsiders will be allowed. Trick-or-treaters are to wear a COVID-19 compliant mask and keep a safe distance from others. Also, they must stay on their own street and or neighborhood and limit the number of homes they visit. Make sure to sanitize hands frequently and only visit homes that have a porch light on. Residents who are handing out candy are to follow rules and regulations discussed for some of the towns mentioned earlier, including the grab-and-go method. Visit townofgb.org for more information. There are several towns that I have not mentioned the Halloween rules and regulations for. I tried to get in contact with them, but was unable to get a response. If the city or town you live in has not been mentioned for trick-or-treat rules and regulations, make sure to visit their websites for all information about what to do come October 31st. Downtown Pittsfield will be hosting a trick-or-treat event from October 30th through November 1st. It will be sponsored by Downtown Pittsfield Inc., Big Y, Lee Bank, Market 32, and the Marketplace Cafe. Between October 30th and November 1st, any diners wearing either a costume or Halloween-themed COVID-19 mask at participating restaurants will receive a handful of treats with the purchase of a dine-in or takeout meal. Restaurants have been struggling during this pandemic, so this is a great help me, help you situation. The following restaurants will be participating in Trick or Eat, all of which are located in Pittsfield. They are Berkshire General Store, District Kitchen and Bar, Dottie's Coffee Lounge, Eat on North, Flavors of Malaysia, Hot Harry's, Marketplace Cafe, Missoula Bar and Lounge, Mission Bar and Tapas, Poncho's Mexican Restaurant, Patrick's Pub, That's a Wrap Cafe, Thrive Diner, and Tito's Mexican Grill. Visit the websites of the restaurants for more information. Movies during Halloween is a tradition for many families, but with the movie theater situation in Berkshire County in dire straits, people are now looking into alternative options. First, a brief update on movie theaters in the Berkshires. Regal Cinemas in Lanesboro and Beacon Cinemas in Pittsfield are still closed, and a reopening date is unlikely anytime soon. Additionally, Movieplex 8 in North Adams is open, but is limiting to only 3 movies during Halloween week: War with Grandpa, Tenet, and the classic Star Wars Episode 5. For people who love horror movies on Halloween, the options are very limited. Thankfully, television channels like AMC are offering a plethora of options. AMC is known for their horror movie marathons, and 2020 is no exception. Their on-demand channel this year contains many collections of horror films, including the entire Chucky collection, Stephen King classics such as Cujo and The Shining, the complete Final Destination, Friday the 13th, and Halloween series, the cult classic Tremors and its sequels, and more. Additionally, their major franchise, The Walking Dead, launched 2 new shows this past month. The first is a new season of Fear the Walking Dead, and the other is the series premiere of The Walking Dead World Beyond. That was scheduled to premiere on April 12, 2020, but that air date was way too close to the peak of the COVID-19 crisis. So AMC decided to wait until October to start airing the series. Please note that AMC changes its on-demand movie list every month. So this is the last month to watch many of these movies. They are free, and you can even fast forward them to skip commercials. If you are missing the movie theaters, the AMC television station is an excellent replacement. Another movie that was previously mentioned on WWATN that is now up on demand is Antebellum. A brief reminder of the plot and why Antebellum went straight on demand. In Antebellum, successful author Veronica Henley finds herself trapped in a horrifying reality and must solve the mind-bending mystery. The movie bounces back and forth between the past and the present and deals with issues of racism, sexism, and classism, all while maintaining a horror movie edge. Antebellum stars Janelle Monáe, Eric Lange, Jenna Malone, and Gabri Sidby, and is directed by Gerard Bush and Christopher Renz. I was able to watch Antebellum recently, which I thought would be perfect for Halloween. So, how was it? Overall, it was a very solid psychological horror movie. Not bloody at all, and a movie that makes you think. It was very slow going at first, but that was deliberate, as it chose to build its true horrors towards the end of the movie. You'll be confused about the past and present storylines at first, but by an hour in, it will slowly start to make sense. Being a movie that dealt with race, it also had its share of hot button issues, which I thought it incorporated smoothly. What didn't work quite as well was the humor and comedy. It was a little too rough around the edges and forced. One last thing about this movie is an important quote, which the movie incorporated as well in its opening shots. It comes from author William Faulkner. Quote, "Past is never dead. It's not even past." End quote. That's an important part of this movie. From a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst and 10 being the best, I give Antebellum an 8.5. It was slow going at first, as stated before, but once it picked up steam, it was a very disturbing, hot-button movie. Speaking of Halloween movies, it's now time for the answer to this week's trivia question. As a reminder, this week's question was, what is the only horror movie to receive the Academy Award for Best Picture? The answer is Silence of the Lambs. This won Best Picture in 1991. This may not be a traditional horror film, but according to multiple websites, it fits many different horror subtypes. The movie's win was considered a surprise win for a couple of reasons. First of all, the Academy rarely honors horror in any category, let alone Best Picture. Additionally, the movie was released in February of 1991. Usually, movies released in February are forgotten about by Oscar time, which takes place in January or February the next year. In fact, Silence of the Lambs was the first movie to be made available on VHS. Remember those? Before it won Best Picture. Silence of the Lamb was the third, and as of this year's Oscars, last film to sweep the Big Five awards: Best Picture, Actor, Actress, Director, and Screenplay. It's now time for this week's history portion of WWHEN. Our stop this week is the Taconic Mountains. The Taconic Mountains are a subrange of the Appalachian Mountains, part of which were mentioned previously on WWHEN. They run from northwest Connecticut and northeast Dutchess County in New York through Vermont and Massachusetts, which includes several mountain ranges in the Berkshires. They are some of the most gorgeous mountain ranges in the Northeast and span an impressive 200 miles long. The word Taconic, originally from the North Native American word Taconic, spelled T-A-G-H-K-A-N-I-C, means forest wilderness, which is very appropriate. The Taconics can be divided into several subranges. They are the Taconics, Central/Segment, Upper Housatonic River Valley region, Southern Vermont, and the Northern Terminus. Among the highest peaks of the Taconic Mountains are Mount Equinox in Manchester, Vermont, which is the range's highest point at 3,816 feet. Mount Frizzle in Connecticut, which is that state's highest mountain, and Mount Greylock, Massachusetts' highest peak, and previously discussed on WWHEN. All three of these mountain ranges are shown on this picture here from left to right. Some of the most popular tourist attractions besides these also include Bear Mountain in Connecticut, Brace Mountain, located at the border of Connecticut and Massachusetts, Jiminy Peak Resort in Hancock, Massachusetts, and the Catamount Ski Area on Mount Frey in New York and Massachusetts. While some of the ski resorts are closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the mountains remain open for hiking. However, hikers must remain masked at all times and use social distancing regulations whenever possible. That ends this week's episode of Wehry Weekly History and Entertainment News. You can watch this week's episode on channel 1301 of PCTV, CTSB-TV, and NBC-TC. Airtimes on all three of these networks vary. Visit the websites shown here for more information. Please note that if you are watching these programs on television, the video quality might not be as strong as my YouTube channel. So check out RT Wehry on YouTube for more information. Thank you, and have a happy and safe Halloween.